Well, Clay is, he's had a bunch of visions that resulted in saying and doing strange things. He keyed a car, which vandalism is, frowned upon. He's scaring the exchange students on their very first day. They're all going to want to go home.
Yeah.
And when he came into school acting all chipper, that was good in the sense that it was nice to see him acting happy.
Yeah.
The trouble was, it was just an act.
So, yeah, I don't know. So we, he does need help.
But we thought some of the visions were real at first. It was getting a little bit hard to you would kind of know after a minute, but at first it was kind of like some of these are getting where you're not really sure.
So we opened up with this episode focusing on Zach and just kind of how we thought it might be, because that's who she was talking to at the end of the last episode. But yeah, it was really interesting because the first half we're being told that he did some really mean things to her. And basically he felt rejected by her when he asked her and said, "Hey, I like you." And she basically rejected him. And I guess his revenge was taking out her compliments, which we kind of discussed in the reaction. I don't really like that they do this whole compliment thing. I think that is just setting somebody up to feel rejected.
The teacher's not very good because she should be kind of monitoring that whole process, but she's not.
Right. I don't really like the idea of how they handled it. I mean, I know there's ways you can do it, but I think it should be done in a way that it just makes all the students feel better about themselves and doesn't leave anybody out.
Yeah. I think the way that my school did that was good. It was just one class period. It wasn't every day. Everybody got enough notes to write one to everyone. And then the teacher collected them so that she could go through and make sure that there wasn't anything that shouldn't be in there. And then she put them all together and handed them out to the students herself.
Yeah.
So I think that was a better way. And you could kind of tell who was who based on handwriting. But they were anonymous. But even though you could tell whose was who, because I think kids are so immature, the teacher has to kind of be the one. Because if there was something negative, the teacher would know based on handwriting and would approach that student and say, "Hey, we were doing compliments. You wrote this, and that's not okay." And need to talk about it and all. Something like that, because kids are immature, something like that has to be kind of heavily monitored by the teacher. And it just wasn't. It was every day anybody can walk up and do anything to your bag. So, but it was interesting that Hannah is not a reliable narrator. And we've seen that before a little bit.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder what else is not true that she said.
Because that's what Jessica said before. She said you can't go by what Hannah said, and we don't know. I mean, so I do think that Hannah, she is an unreliable narrator, and that the fine details, which really do change a lot of things, like the fact that he took the note and read it and didn't react to it. I think what in her mind she saw him it was the same as him wadding it up, and that's probably what she's recalling in her mind. But that's not actually what happened. And that happens. That's what people tend to do. Sometimes when somebody is mad about, let's say, a coworker or somebody, or, somebody they a friend or something like that, they're having a argument with or something, when they're telling somebody else their side of the story, you might skew it a little bit to make the other person sound worse. So then that's why you got to hear, even though they said things that were factual, there were some small details that they either left out or they embellished. And those little details matter a lot. He read it and then he put it in his pocket and walked away is different than he read it, he wadded it up, threw it on the floor and walked away. I mean,
that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
It's kind of inconsequential. It doesn't ultimately change anything.
Right.
But it makes a big difference in how you view the other person.
Right. And the narrator and in her mind, she probably doesn't think there's a difference because it felt that way. She's going by her feelings.
Exactly.
These are all feelings. It feels like that's what you did. You just didn't care. You didn't care. And you threw away my feelings like wadding it up on the floor. So that's what she saw. And that's not what really happened. And that's doesn't show what was going on in Zach's mind. In Zach's mind, he's hurt. He was genuinely, I think he was genuinely hurt that she rejected him. And yeah, he's probably not used to getting rejected.
Yeah, he was embarrassed, and he probably did like her, genuinely like her. I do think that his approach wasn't great. I know everyone just likes your butt, but I like you for more than just your butt. I mean, I like that too. But, you know, like
he thought
it was a compliment somehow and it wasn't. But she could have also just said, hey, Zach, I'm not really interested. And if you really want to go into it, then you could say, Zach, if you bring up that, it doesn't make the girl feel good. Like you need to ask differently or whatever she could have said. But I think the way that she turned him down kind of like.
I think that, he was embarrassed.
Yeah. And that
both embarrassed and a little bit hurt. And I think, because I think he genuinely liked her too. But yeah, he's somebody, a lot of times if somebody's popular and they're very successful in school and in sports, they may not be used to getting the rejection. And that's something he just really couldn't. He took it as a complete insult.
And the thing is, his approach was stupid. So I don't mean to sound like,
I'm not defending him.
Blaming like it, you know, like
taking her compliments away was really kind of low. I mean, it's not something, but it was, I don't know. I feel like, go ahead. Keep going.
Just that some people are kind of stupid without realizing it. Like a guy might genuinely think what he said was a compliment to her and it wasn't.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if he's stupid enough to not know, then you could be a little bit nicer to help explain why it's that way. Something like, let's say a guy, or well, you're a guy, so we'll say a girl. Let's say a girl told you, you know, man, I hate facial hair. Are you growing a beard? I mean, you still look decent despite it. That's not a compliment. She's hearing you still look decent despite it as if it's a compliment.
Right, yeah.
Because most
he wasn't
look terrible, but
very good with words.
Like it's like the person is really stupid and they think they're being nice, but they're not. So you could kind of, instead of getting all offended and then they're like, what did I do? You could kind of explain why what you said isn't very helpful. And then they might, oh, I didn't think of that. Okay, yeah, I can see what you mean. And it just, it's like, it's not your job to fix how they talk. But at the same time, that could kind of go a long way toward helping them to know how to talk to you better.
Yeah.
So
also, I don't think he has to understand too. He was with that group that was watching Marcus. They were all friends. They were kind of all in on it in a way. He's not responsible for Marcus's behavior. Absolutely not. But at the same time, they all came together. He was late for a reason. I mean, she had every reason not to trust him.
Well, I wouldn't have either. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't trust it. He was part of that group. So it's like, you can't just assume she's just going to be like, oh, you stayed over and said you were sorry. I'm sure she probably appreciated the sorry maybe, but at the same time, you can't expect her to suddenly be like, yeah, let's go on a date. So,
and I think you were right that she could have thought it was all a trick. Like,
yeah, it sounded like a trick.
A thing to get like, well, I'm going to act really jerky so it gets you in with her. Like,
right. I wanted to be your Matt. Yeah, I wanted to be your Valentine, and yet it was Marcus. Well, you should have asked her out, I guess, before Marcus did. But I don't know. I mean, I don't blame her at all for not wanting to go out with him. I do think it, like I said earlier, that the unreliable narrative, you do got to take. That's why Clay needs to listen to the tapes. He needs to do a little more research before he loves Hannah, so he's taking her for face value. He's going to be like believing everything she says. And I don't think she's saying anything that's completely not true. She's just embellishing things unintentionally, because that's what she sees in her mind. That's what it felt. She's going by feelings.
Yeah.
Clay goes by feelings too. Right. He goes by his feelings too. That's why he's reacting the way he is. He's not thinking things through. He hasn't listened to his tape, and to me it's very. I know that's part of the show. I get that's part of the show. I get that they're going to go through all the tapes through all the episodes. So I'm not expecting him to skip through. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense for his character. Well, it's frustrating. Maybe it makes sense, but it's frustrating for him as a character to, have him react this way without listening to the tapes. Is very frustrating. He's, keying up people's cars and damaging property, and he doesn't even know. He's probably, once he listens to his tape, he's probably in the same boat as they are, yet he's going against them. So I don't know. I just feel like he should listen to his tape first, instead of doing all these. Now he's getting a little crazier because he had that outburst with the foreign exchange students, which is interesting, I guess. It's exciting, I suppose, for the story, but I found it kind of secondhand cringe, I guess. Yeah. But yeah.
And those exchange students are just like, what did we walk in on?
Because there were several times where it almost looks like he's doing something. Well, even when he was holding the basketball with everybody wanting him to go back, even though that the vision he had didn't happen where he punches where he punches Zach, he still just holding onto the ball and not throwing it back. I was like, oh, that's kind of embarrassing too. So
Yeah,
secondhand embarrassment. Yeah, a lot of embarrassment. He needs a therapist. He needs a therapist.
He needs to talk to somebody, and he needs to tell them about the visions and stuff.
Well, do you have a rating for this episode?
My rating is, well, I'll give it a 5. It was okay, but I don't know. Sorry, I'm thinking because I feel like this episode wasn't as dramatic or interesting, but it was also like a necessary episode.
Yeah.
And I did like seeing different things from, I'm going to change it to more than a 5. I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike it, so don't get me wrong. It wasn't as dramatic as some other episodes, but she even said at the beginning of the episode, this one won't feel like as big of a deal as some of the others.
Yeah. No, I was actually, before you even said your rating, that 7.5 is what I was going to give it. I actually found it an interesting episode. It wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't like,
it was interesting.
I thought it was good. I mean, I'm glad we focused a little bit. I was interested in knowing what Zach, I had a feeling they were going to cover Zach at some point. I just felt like they were. And then, so I didn't think what he did though was as, I get it. She even said, it's not as bad as it sounds. I know that it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts or I know it was just one small little paper cut that I get it. So I'm not saying anything that it didn't matter. Of course it mattered, but we're also I found it interesting to show that she's somewhat of an unreliable narrator. I think that was the base. That was the biggest thing I came out of this one, I think, more than anything. And that, again, Clay's being reactive and damaging property before he knows the full story, which is a little frustrating. But it's like, man, just listen to all the tapes first before you react.
He's so slow. And obviously he has to be, or the show doesn't work.
It doesn't work, but it
has to be, but it is.
Doesn't make it less frustrating. Any predictions for the next episode? Do you have any predictions like who they're going to cover next or whatever? What character
they'll cover next? My prediction is the exchange students will go home.
Yeah, foreign exchange student. Maybe someone more than the foreign exchange students. I can't think of anybody they haven't really focused on. I mean, there are, but I'm like, Sky. We haven't gone over Sky yet. Sky will definitely be on the tapes. They've shown her too much for her not to be on the tapes. So Sky will be one of these episodes. Not sure what, but.
With the exchange students, they could have a part to play. And obviously not what happened, but they could, like, maybe one of them becomes friends with Clay now or something.
Okay, so are you ready to? I guess you're ready to get to the next episode. Are you ready to get on to episode 8? I guess tape side B.
I am, and I really hope that it's finally Clay's tape, but I doubt that it will be. I'm sure we have to wait till the very last episode to find out whatever Clay did.
My prediction is it's going to be episode 13 because he's the 13th reason of why, which is something I predicted, I think, at the very start of the show, which I think that's what's going to play out that way. So we'll see.
And make sure you guys, if you didn't subscribe and you want to keep staying with us on this journey, then hit subscribe.
That's right. Hit subscribe. And if you'd like to see our uncut reactions, don't forget to check out our memberships and on Patreon. We will see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.